All right, guys, what is going on? JT here to talk about some Buffalo Bills football. And I've been thinking about doing this for a long time, so why don't we just get into it? So, Steelers versus Buffalo Bills, our first prove it game, as the media is calling it. 11-1 Steelers on primetime. I think I would feel a lot more nervous about this game, or would have felt a lot more nervous about this game, had we not just smashed the Niners on primetime, just because I know primetime Josh Allen sometimes shows up and he gets a little in his head and doesn't play as well as we need him to. But showed up against the Niners, and he showed up again against the Steelers today. So let's just go ahead and break it down by position. So we'll just do offense first, then defense, special teams, and then just some overviews and stuff at the end. So we came out to a real slow start, and I was pretty nervous. Actually, I had to go get myself a drink in the middle of the first quarter. But, I mean, it's to be expected. I mean, their defense is amazing. I mean, Cameron Hayward, TJ Watt up front. Their front seven is phenomenal. One of the best front sevens in football. I mean, Washington football team, I guess, is probably a bit better, especially with the Steelers' injuries. But, honestly, their front seven is phenomenal. Cameron Hayward was wreaking havoc all across our offensive line and just getting to Josh what seemed like every play. The pick he threw was literally because Cam Hayward pushed the entirety of our middle of our line, ran right through him, and then just slapped Josh's arm as he was throwing the ball, which honestly I was really nervous when I first started the throw, because I was like, damn, I hope that was deflected or something, because if that's just a throw, that is a bad ball by Josh, and that does not bode well for the rest of the game. But he had his arm hit, and the balls just sailed straight up, and it was a pick. I mean, it happens. It's bad luck. But what really, I think, showed a lot of guts to me was that they fought their way, clawed their way through the first half. It was a bad showing, and then to see them come out in the second half with those second half adjustments, Brian Zabel, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, they all came out and they were ready to fucking play. And, feeding Diggs the ball, because they were just sending so much pressure. Diggs is in one-on-one. You went out to trade for Diggs because when he's in one-on-one coverage, you're going to throw him the ball. So Josh just started feeding Stephon the ball, and it worked. I mean, he had 9 catches for 130 yards and a touchdown. And Diggs is really good at making things happen after the catch too. So like on his 19-yard touchdown reception, he caught the ball 7 yards from the line of scrimmage and ran it in the 10 to 12 yards through 3 defenders. Kind of carved right through them, extended into the end zone and scored. And that's what we need Stephon Diggs to do, and that's what we need him to do in those situations when Josh is getting just pushed by that defensive line. That defensive front is getting to him every time, but Diggs is out there in one-on-one coverage, just throw him the ball. I mean, he was literally putting defenders on the ground while he was running his routes. I mean, 2 of his catches, like the defender was literally sprawled out on the ground because he is that good in tight man-to-man coverage. He's going to beat those dudes, 9 times out of 10. And as long as Josh can put that ball in the right spot and they're on the same page, I mean, that's going to happen. And you're going to get torn up by Allen or Diggs if you're going to rush, 6 guys and put Diggs in man-to-man coverage one-on-one on the outside. So I love seeing those second half adjustments. And I know a lot of people have been complaining about our run game. I see it on the media and on Twitter. But our run game is not bad. I think it's all right. I mean, we're averaging just under 100 yards per game, which isn't great, but it's not terrible. And I mean, we can run the ball when we need to. I mean, we're a pass-first team now, but when we needed to run that game out, you saw us, put the ball on the ground and, give it to Moss and Allen, and they just ran the ball. It does seem like Moss is kind of becoming our 1A back, with Singletary taking that like 1B slot. And it was pretty apparent that was happening until that fumble last week. And I think they kind of pulled back a little bit on Moss, but it seemed like when we needed to run the ball and we needed those yards, we needed to run this game out. we put the ball in Zach Moss's hands, and I think Zach Moss is great, and I think that the Singletary Moss combo is great for us. Whether Moss is 1A or whatever is irrelevant to me. I think they bring different things to the table, and I think utilizing both effectively is really going to help us continue to have a decent to solid running game. And I also think that we could have a better running game if we really committed to it, like Buffalo Bills teams of the past. But people are talking about like it's not Buffalo Bills football, run the ball, but obviously it hadn't been working for us for 25 years. So seeing us air it out on, win games on Josh's arm is good, I think, and makes us a more dynamic team. But yeah, I mean, the offense played slow, poor in the first half, but the second half was phenomenal. I mean, they came out, they made those adjustments, and they dismantled what's one of the best defenses in the league right now in the Steelers defense, and it was amazing to watch. And I wish I could just watch it all the time, and I might. Maybe I'll just record it and I'll just play it whenever I'm feeling sad. But seriously, I mean, Diggs, that was phenomenal. I see Vikings fans all the time talking about how they won the trade and whatever. I mean, this is one of the few win-win trades I've seen in the NFL. They got Justin Jefferson. He is a budding superstar. And a lot of things I see is they're saying they won the trade because of cap space and money. But we have a young quarterback in Josh Allen, and having a more veteran receiver who has those skills and that skill set, I think is really helping his development. And Kirk Cousins is an older veteran quarterback, and Justin Jefferson is going to learn from him, and Thielen and stuff like that. So I think that they're both where they should be. And I'm it's great that Justin Jefferson is turning out for the Vikings, and that's awesome. But Diggs is what we needed, and Jefferson's what they needed, and it's just a win-win trade to me. And I'm kind of tired of seeing that people are even still trying to make it go one way or the other, or that someone lost a trade. It's a win-win. It's working out for both teams. I mean, we should just move on. But moving on to the defense. They showed up today. Although I will say that the Pittsburgh offense is a little bit slow and stagnant and very, very one-dimensional. The short pass game has been working, but with our secondary able to recognize and sit underneath those routes with the weak O-line play that the Steelers have, I think that they were going to be hard pressed if they couldn't run the ball to beat us. I mean, on offense, they just couldn't do a lot, and I think that they're not going to be able to do a lot against a defense that's built like ours. A good secondary, pretty good defensive front that's been really, really getting better and coming into its own as the season has worn on. I know a lot of people were asking for a trade or something before the deadline because our defensive line had been not showing up. But I think with Milano back and Edmonds playing at a higher level, our secondary is phenomenal. I think it gives them a little bit more leeway on the defensive line, and the run stopping has been great. And I don't think that the run stopping issues in the beginning of the season were actually the front four's fault. I think it was the linebacker position being a little bit iffy. But honestly, our defense played phenomenal. I mean, Taron Johnson, Levi Wallace with those interceptions. I mean, the pick six before the half was the turning point of the game. Shifted the momentum entirely to our side. And I think it's one of the reasons we came on so hot in the second half. I think it's honestly one of the major contributors of why we won that game. I mean, the offense was held to 3 points in the first half. And we had a 9-7 lead going into the half because of our defense. And that's huge. And with our offense being so effective, if we can get our defense to put up points and get those big stops and those big turnovers, I mean, we can compete with anyone in this league. And that's just how it is. And run stopping. I mean, I know that the Steelers' line is not great, but listen, we stopped the run, and that's a good thing. Whether it's whoever it's against, we did a good job of stopping that run today, and I think that was really big and let our secondary kind of feast on some of the quick bad throws on short routes that we were ready for. And all the pressure that we brought was great. I mean, it seemed like Big Ben didn't feel comfortable in the pocket pretty much all night. He hadn't been sacked in however long, but we were definitely bringing the heat. Special teams, obviously, Tyler Bass had that missed extra point. Hurt my fantasy team, but for the most part, it's not a huge deal. Although I'm not even actually sure he missed it. We had the same situation earlier in the season. I can't remember who we were playing, but he missed a kick over the post. He actually made the kick, and when they looked back at it, that one looked like he probably may have made that one as well. But that's one of the few things we don't look at, review anything. We just got 2 refs standing underneath, and they got to make that call with the eye test. So that is what it is. I think the kickoff coverage was great. I think that Corey Bojorquez showed up, in that first half. He was punting a lot, and he was punting well. No weird flyers. I know he's prone to punting really well and then sending one 15 yards down the field and having it go out of bounds, but he played great. And it was interesting that the stat was Corey didn't have enough punts this season to be ranked in the punter stats yet. So that's a good sign. I like that. But yeah, I mean, Andre Roberts' returns were expected. I mean, he got us to the 30, 32, 35. That's good. I mean, that's why we have Andre Roberts. It's not to, I knock on him. He does it well, and he does it every week. He has great returns. There was no big ones, but he always gets us a little bit better field position. And, getting outside of our 20 on those returns, getting to the 30, increases our chance to score on that drive by a large percent, something like 30, 40, 50%. So getting us good field position with Andre Roberts is great. Having him on punts too is great. He does a really good job of mind games with the gunners. He's good at coming up and calling those fair catches while the ball bounces into the end zone, and really pulling those guys' eyes down to him instead of looking where the ball is going. I know it's weird when you have a guy who's just a returner as a wide receiver that's on your roster, but he honestly does such great work there that I really enjoy having him back there and having that consistency, which I know a lot of teams look for, and some of them lack. And it's nice to have a consistent returner and getting us good, decent field position, and sometimes making things out of nothing and getting those big returns every once in a while. I mean, you saw Ray, who used to be on our team, he couldn't get going anywhere today. Our coverage was great on all the punts and the kickoffs and everything. He was trying to make something happen. He just couldn't. And that's why I really enjoy having Andre Roberts for that consistency. Whereas Ray had returned one, I think last week, returned a kick. And Ray is great, and he can be explosive. But I just think he's as consistent. And Andre Roberts is just great. Yeah, so that's, offense played a great second half, really made those halftime adjustments. Defense played really well all game. Levi got beat on that one touchdown pass, but he also had that amazing pick. And I know people are saying he got beat, but I mean, he tracked that ball, jumped to the side, caught that ball in bounds. It was an amazing catch, a great pick. Yeah, maybe in a different world, if we didn't have the pressure, Big Ben gets that over Levi's head, and that's a touchdown. And we're looking at it a little bit differently, but that's not how it went. So, I mean, they played a good game. Defense was all over the ball. They were all over Big Ben. They were all over Connor Snell. Pittsburgh Steelers couldn't get anything going on offense, and defense was all over him. Special teams, Corey Bojorquez had a great game. Andre Roberts consistent. Kickoff coverage, punt coverage was really good. Our special teams has been good all year. Tyler Bass obviously has those inconsistency issues, but he's a rookie kicker. He's able to hit those long balls. I know the inconsistency from Tyler Bass is to be expected. He's a rookie kicker, and I'm okay with sticking with him. And I think that we would have had just the same amount of inconsistencies with Hauschka. I mean, he was just never the same after that injury. So I'm okay with sticking with Bass going forward. I'm a big fan of Tyler Bass. But yeah, so extras. Let's go into it a little bit. So the media and how they're treating the Buffalo Bills football team and the Buffalo Bills fan base right now is funny to see. I'm a big fan of Good Morning Football. They're always pretty good and unbiased, and they hype us up. But we've seen Nick Wright, trash talking Josh Allen a little bit, which I don't even really give Nick Wright the time of day. He makes his money off of being contrarian. But everyone's kind of he's getting flamed on Twitter pretty bad and everything like that. But listen, I mean, there's gonna be people that don't like Josh Allen. There's gonna be people that don't like Josh Allen that don't watch 60 minutes of Bills football every week, and that's fine. They can keep sleeping on us. Josh does it almost every week. He's like, we like that. He's like, keep sleeping on us, keep underestimating us. He's like, we're gonna come in and we're gonna fight and we're gonna play. So the Nick Wright thing doesn't bother me. The Bomani Jones thing bothers me a little bit, just because he is just so clearly biased for what seems to be no reason against Josh Allen. I know, Dominic Foxworth on his podcast and on his show said that he didn't like Josh Allen because he didn't like the Bills fans on Twitter that he saw as racist. Which is weird. I mean, there's no reason for you to dislike or be biased against a player because of people on Twitter. I mean, Twitter's a cesspool and can be a cesspool, and every team has fans that are not going to be good people. I mean, that's just how it is. And honestly, sometimes like the worst people are the loudest. So, but Bomani Jones said that Josh Allen played terrible in the Steelers game, and I'll say that he had a bad first half, but he had an amazing second half. I mean, he had no incompletions in the third quarter. And Bomani Jones, clearly, he didn't watch the Bills-Steelers game on primetime. He looked at the box stats, and then he decided to say that Josh Allen had a bad game, which is fine. I mean, whatever. Bomani Jones can say whatever he wants. We donated to his charity, and it was, honestly, the worst part about that was he's kind of a dick about that, which is weird. I think that's one of the better things we do as a fan base. That we kind of take hate and we turn it into something good as best that we can. And it's weird that they would talk bad about that. I don't know what their deal was with that, but yeah, I mean, I think that's all I wanted to say about the media. I don't really give them too much of the time of day. People can hate on Josh Allen. I know there's people saying that they would still rather have Lamar Jackson over Josh Allen, which is fine. I mean, they definitely play a different kind of game, bringing a little bit of different things to the table. Personally, I like Josh Allen's play style a little bit better. I think it's a little bit more consistent. He's better at a lot of things, whereas I think Lamar Jackson is very, very good at a couple things. So it just depends on what you're looking for. But I honestly think that the Bills are capable of standing up and playing against the best of them right now. I think that we can beat the Chiefs. I think that we showed that we could have beat the Chiefs earlier in the season, and things just didn't align like we needed it to. But we kept the game close. I just think that we have the Denver Broncos coming up, which is a game we should win. We should have this division, and honestly, we'll see. The Steelers have a easier game against the Joe Burrow-less Bengals. If Burrow was in that game, I would feel a lot more confident about their chances of winning. But there is a chance if the Steelers kind of fall apart here after 2 losses, that we can actually snag that second seed, which would be, obviously phenomenal. But right now, it looks like we're probably going to hold that 3 seed, win our division, and carry on into the playoffs. And I want this team to do well, and I think that we can do well, and we can make a playoff run, a deep one. Obviously, getting to the Super Bowl, though, it's through the Chiefs this season, and it was through the Chiefs last season. The Chiefs are a great team, but they can be beaten. And I think that over the last couple of weeks, you've seen some cracks in their armor. And yeah, I think we can beat that team. I think we can compete with any team out there. And let's hope that we get the chance, and that we push deep into the playoffs, and you see the Chiefs in the AFC Championship, and see how we stack up, and if we can make that Super Bowl run. And I think we are Super Bowl contenders, and just got to see. It's got to go through the Chiefs. But I think beating the 11-1 Steelers, beating the great, phenomenal defense of the 49ers, and, we beat the Seahawks. We've had quality wins this year, and I really, really think that we can get to the Super Bowl and possibly win the Super Bowl. Obviously, the NFC is, all up in the air right now, but yeah, I mean, Bills Mafia, that's my take on this game and kind of how the media is treating us. I'm JT, my first video. Yeah, let me know if it's in the comments down below what you guys thought about the game, what you guys think about the media, Nick Wright, Bomani Jones, and let me know if you think this is too long of a video. If I talk too much, say too little, just let me know in the comments down below. And if you like the content, feel free to like and subscribe. And yeah, you guys have a good rest of your day.